All right. Hey, Tim.
Good evening.
Hey,
We are
Tim.
having a problem. My Facebook is not allowing the live stream tonight. They are overloaded and can't accept the live streaming. I'm trying to get it set up. I'll possibly try to keep doing it on the side here if I can while we're going, because I know that normally we get 50 to maybe 80 people watching here in this webinar, and then we get a couple hundred on Facebook. I was amazed at how many people signed in on Facebook. And of course, the Facebook can be watched later on if they want, because it's stored on Facebook, makes it quite a bit nicer. So we're going to try one more live Facebook kick in here. And while that's doing that, I'm going to come back to us and move all my little notes and things out of the way and try to get going. I want to say good evening to everyone and welcome to the 13th. I think this is the 13th National Santa webinar. Maybe it's the 14th. I can't remember now.
14.
Huh? You got 14th also. Okay, it's the 14th. Okay, that's my magic fingers typing. I forgot to edit my script. As I always start out, I want to remind everybody the webinars are every Tuesday night here on Zoom. You can find out more information about the webinars by going to my website, nationalsanta.com. And when you go to that website, of course, then you can get information about all of the webinars. And what's really nice is that I now went back into the webinar page and have listed each webinar and the subject of the webinar. So it makes it a little easier for some people when they want to go check on something that I talked about. At least they can see the subject and decide whether or not that's, which webinar they want to watch, instead of having to try to look at each one and view it, it makes it a little easier for you. Trying to make it easier for you, okay? This is the third to the last of the webinars. I'm only going to do two more. The way I had set it up, at least I'm not planning on going past September 8th. Next week on September 1st, I'm going to present a special session on photo techniques when practicing social distancing. And we're going to be showing you some examples that are being discussed by different people, some examples that have been used in the past by other locations. We'll talk about some of the techniques that photographers are using to do family visits. I don't know how many of you do private studio work, where you might have a family come in for a 15-minute visit. I have some studios I've worked with, and they're now trying to work in alternative photo opportunities where maybe instead of using a studio, they're going to do something outdoors or somewhere where it doesn't require as much cleaning, and it reduces the connections. So again, better social distancing, as they say. So we'll talk about little things like that. Probably talk about George's box. And I've seen a few other of these displays. There's a company that actually makes a plexiglass wall that is 8 by 10 feet that can be used by a photo studio. Very large piece of plexiglass. And they're actually marketing it to some major malls and locations. Again, Santa's on one side, the family's on the other. But again, they're trying all kinds of techniques to make it better for photos. There are also locations that are getting rid of us. They're going to use cardboard cutouts. Of course, I would love to have a cardboard cutout of myself that I can sell to those companies, but because I used to have one. But they're actually, you can actually go online if you Google it, and you can find companies. They have some stock photos of Santas that are cutouts. But anyway, we'll talk about all this next week. On September 8th, my webinar is going to be, we've got a guest coming back, and that is Megan Price, Megan Frisbee, for some of you may know her as, with Gig Salad. And remember, she did the webinar with us a few weeks back, and she said if we'd like, she'd come back. So I've talked to her, and she's going to come back on September 8th, and she's going to cover the subject of maximizing your results with your Gig Salad account, your web page, and what you set up for Gig Salad. And there are a lot of things that you can do to make sure that you have the best presentation of yourself on that site. How do you get more people picking you as compared to other Santas? A little getting into competition, I know, but again, when you click on that button and they see 6 Santas, you want them to at least, entertain the thought of hiring you. So again, she's going to talk to us about that. And one of the things she's suggesting is if you have a Gig Salad site, even if it's not, you went dormant and you're getting ready to kick it back up online, because you can do that. Some Santas will get a site and they'll only have it for 3 months because they don't do Santa work the rest of the year. Well, if you have a site on Gig Salad, she's willing to help critique your site. Of course, you will be a guinea pig. In other words, all of us will get to see and hear about what's good or bad about your site, but she will be glad to help you out and make suggestions on what you can do to make it better and to better position yourself. It's just like when you have a website, you want to get more hits on your website. So they're always trying to help you maximize the search engines and such. It's the same thing with Gig Salad in a way, but there are things that you can do personally in regards to your photos and your copy and things like that. And she'll also talk about how you can set your rates and even change your rates. Some of the Santas don't realize it, that they can go back in, and as the season moves on, if they want, they can raise their rates or adjust their rates down if they feel they're not getting enough work, whatever. So you have that opportunity. So you can talk about that. And that will be on September 8th. And hopefully that will be good. And of course, you're always welcome to send questions to me about any type of subject. I'll try to answer those questions here at the beginning of the webinar. And if it's of a personal nature, why, of course, I'll just send you back a personal answer. But again, I'm most happy to answer any type of question. And if I don't have the answer, I may know somebody. I've been around long enough and have quite a long list of other people that maybe could help us out. Again, privately if you'd like. So it's not something you would post on Facebook or out in the open, that type of thing. So let's get started for this evening. I'm going to go back over and do one more little check here to see if Facebook made it through or not. Nope, it's not working tonight. And I am getting bunches and bunches of text messages from people saying, I can't get on, I can't get on. Well, hopefully we still have room here on Zoom. We've only got about 50 people signed in here, so hopefully we'll get a few more joining us. Tonight's subject is, are you prepared for working this Christmas? Now, any Santa or Mrs. Claus, whether professional or working as a volunteer, should always be prepared. It's being prepared helps reduce stress, and it makes the job easier, more fun, and it makes you look more professional. And I think that's very important in our industry. Looking your best. And when you're organized and you've got everything going and you're prepared, you're a lot more relaxed. It's easier to work because you've got things a lot easier. Last week we covered a little bit on preparedness, and that was on the first part, which is your health and fitness. And I do want to again thank Dr. Andrew Gould, aka Santa Andy, for his presentation on the Reindeer's Guide to Fitness. And by the way, we did put a bunch of links on the National Santa website under the webinar category. There's a whole bunch of links on fitness and stretching exercises and things like that, examples of things to help you so that we can all be a bit more healthy as we move towards the Christmas season. Anyway, let's get back to this part here of preparedness, and this is more about material preparedness, okay? Um, we want Santa to be ready to appear anytime. That means you've got to have all your stuff together. You've got to be prepared. I don't know how many of you ever had one of those last minute calls. Maybe it was sometimes not even at Christmas, a make-a-wish call, or a special call for a family of a child that's sick, or maybe a family came into town to visit grandma, and grandpa all of a sudden says, gee, we ought to have Santa come over. Can we get a hold of him? Can he come over now? You know, if you have all your stuff together and are prepared, sometimes it makes it easy to, grab your stuff and take off and be Santa. And I think this is important if you can have that type of thing going on. So, if it's a last minute job, will you be ready? And do you have everything together? Now, we all know who Santa is. We got, our looks. We know about the fur trimmed suit and all the boots and accessories. We all have that idea ourselves of what Santa looks like. The families and the children have the same thing too. So again, being prepared means you got to have all that stuff together too. And you want to have all that things together. By the way, I just muted all of you. So if you do have a question or something like that, you'll have to unmute yourself. But right now you're all muted. Okay. So anyway, the kids of the family have an idea who you are. And, so when you do have all of your stuff together, you want to make sure that you've got everything you need to make that impression on them of who you are as Santa Claus, that all the stuff you have. Do you have everything you need? Do you have extra supplies that you're going to need? I'm going to talk about small events where maybe you want to have a little carry-on bag or some sort of item that you bring in with you to an event with all the little extras you might need if you're going to be sitting for an hour or two. If you're working bigger events, sometimes multi-day events and things like that, sometimes you got to have a lot of supplies. You got to have all your stuff together. So sometimes you have to have a box of things and extra stuff, particularly if the host or the sponsor is not taking care of you. In other words, if they're not supplying anything, you got to take care of yourself. And I always kind of back myself up. Even if the host forgets what they're supposed to have, I've covered myself. So I always have extra water with me. I always have extra sanitizer, gloves. I have little snacks, and because even though they said they were going to give me lunch, maybe they forgot, or maybe the lunch they ordered isn't what I want. So I kind of protect myself with a lot of things. So you have to think of all these things yourself and be prepared. And Santa is actually a pilot, just like an airline pilot, just like the guys that fly the big 747s. You fly that sleigh with all that stuff. You need to have your own pilot's checklist for taking off. Okay, so that means you have to have a checklist of everything you need to go to the event. Make sure you got your contract, you have all the contact numbers, and then not just supplies. What about make sure you got your phone? Okay, make sure your vehicle is ready. Lots of things you have to prepare. So that's what we're going to talk about this evening is having all these things together. Do you have everything you need? Okay, create checklists. Okay, now in my book that I use in my school, the book Behind the Red Suit, in the appendix at the back, I've got a sample checklist of some things that you would want to have. That's a good starting point. You may need extra things, different things, Since I first wrote my checklist, my needs have changed. I mean, we've always had, a little bit of sanitizer or something like that, but now, we'll probably have to add in extra masks, okay? I now wear hearing aids. I have to make sure I've got extra hearing aid batteries. All these little things are part of, what my checklist has to be. And each of you will have to make your own checklist of what you need. And this goes for Mrs. Claus too. Depending on what her task is, whatever she's going to be doing at the party or the event, she wants to have things, okay? And you have to have extra supplies to cover in case there's something tossed on your lap during a party that you weren't expecting, okay? What happens when you do get a wet baby? How are you going to handle it? What happens if a baby throws up on you? How are you going to handle it? You have to take care of all these things yourself when you're at private parties. So you have to have all these different supplies. So create your checklist. everything you need to take with you for your visit for that event, your regular stuff. Again, like I said, it's similar to what a pilot would have before flight. A copy of your contract with the contact information, props, storybooks, other aids in creating your magic, giveaways for the children. Now, these are the event items. But then, of course, you have to have things that you might need too, okay? So you may need to have other supplies in there. Maybe you need to have some breath mints. Maybe you need to have some water. Maybe you need to have some snacks. I don't know how many of you have dietary, needs or special needs, but if you're hypoglycemic, or you have, some people have to have a little nosh all the time. You need to have little extra snacks with you. For those of you diabetic, you got to have your diabetic stuff. If you have asthma or you have COPD, you got to have all these other little things extras with you, because you don't have time sometimes to run to the drugstore or run to another place when you're in between parties. So you have to think way ahead and make sure you've got everything you need. It's almost like taking anybody remember George Carlin's story about your stuff? Carlin had a funny piece. He talked about, your SHI, whatever, and my stuff. You got your SHI and I've got my stuff. And they would talk about, he went on a trip to the islands and he had to take a bag he took a little bit of his house, all packed into a bag and took it with him. Then when he got to the island, someone said, we're going to go to another island. So he had to create another little bag of stuff to go to the other island. Well, it's like that with your being Santa. Sometimes you have to have a box that you put in your car, and it's a little bit of everything you have at the house that you use, that you use for all your parties of the event. And then when you go into the party, sometimes you have to take a little bag with you with something of everything. So, again, all these little things are very important to have. So anyway, that's for part of your event. But let's start at the house right now. Your dressing area. You need a checklist for your dressing area. Now, the reason I say you need a checklist, what I want this list for is to have you make sure that everything you need to get dressed is in one area. So I recommend you have a list. Now, it's kind of funny. Cherry Hill and some of the older companies, the big national companies, all used to have checklists for their Santas on basically, everything they had to do. And they even give you the order of dress, what to put on first, when to get this on, when to put that on, how to adjust your padding, when do you glue on the eyebrows, and things like that. Of course, this is years ago, but the checklists are very important because we get distracted, we get forgetful, and we're all senior citizens too. So sometimes we really get forgetful. So checklists are a great tool, a great aid to giving us what we need. So with that checklist, you have everything in one place. You have all of your wardrobe, your boots, your belts, your pins, anything you might need, gloves. And I recommend you have lots of gloves. You have the gloves that you're going to wear that day, but you need extra gloves to go with you. I recommend that every time you go from one party to another party, you change your gloves. Anytime your gloves get soiled, you change your gloves. In fact, this year I have a feeling we're probably going to be wearing a lot more gloves because it's just one of those things. A lot of Santas are, looking around. I don't know how you've seen on the sanitizers, but look around and find that alcohol sanitizer. I've noticed, by the way, even some places like Ace Hardware and places like that actually have pint bottles now of hand sanitizer, which can be put into little spray bottles. So in other words, it's an alcohol-based sanitizer, great for spraying gloves and things like that. Anyway, your makeup. Do you wear makeup? Do you use makeup? Make sure you have your makeup there. And remember, your makeup, not your wife's, okay? Santa should have his own base, and if you talk to Leon McBride, he's got some great makeup. It's basically not, he hates to call it makeup, it's called photo-friendly. The idea is to get rid of the shine and make you look good. And so you want to have all your stuff there. And then the extra supplies you need to take with you, but you want to have all your stuff together. So example, if that call comes and someone says they'd like to have you come to their home because the grandkids just showed up, Or maybe you got that Make-A-Wish call or the fire department called about something and they'd like to have you jump over to something real quick like. Isn't it nice if you can just go to that one area in your house and everything is there? So in other words, everything should be there. Your boots should not be sitting out in the garage. Your belt should not be, laying in one room and your suit in another room. And I even like to keep all of my makeup and hair care products all in the same area. Make it very, very simple, just in case don't want to run to the bathroom to do my hair. I've got a big mirror in my bedroom. I've got a full length mirror in my bedroom. Check what I look like before I go out, that type of thing. So you want to have all this stuff together. And that's one of the other things in your dressing area, a full length mirror. I think somewhere you should have a full length mirror. If it's not in your dressing room, definitely before you walk out and get in the car, you want to check everything. Make sure you look good. Make sure that everything is in the right place. I have gone out and had my buttons buttoned in the wrong order. Okay. The mirror saves me by telling me that I'm stupid and get your buttons straightened out. Okay. So you want to have a full length mirror to tell you that. It will also, you can also see everything. You can check your mustache and check your beard and make sure everything looks just so perfect before you head out the door. And I see this is Sherling there laughing. Does he do that? Anyway, so you want to have, that dressing area all set up. And again, same for Mrs. Claus, all your stuff together in one area. It could be part of your closet. It could be a separate area. I'm fortunate where we live. I actually have a separate office, a separate room where I can have all of my items together. And it makes it very, very nice. So I can, decide what I'm going to do. Then, of course, with my checklist on the vehicle, it becomes completely different because then when I go to my car, I've got all my supplies I need for the events. I have the extra Santa suit. I have lots of extra things there. So again, these are all on the checklist. So again, a special dressing area. I recommend a full-length mirror and everything you need to dress and wear when you're going out on your visit. Okay, so you want to have all that stuff together. Let's see, I got a couple people waiting there. A couple late arrivals, so we're letting them in. Okay. Okay, and let's see, full-length mirror, a close-up or magnifying mirror, sometimes very handy to have. And I recommend this because just before you go out the door and you've done that little pancake makeup on your forehead, you look in that magnifying mirror and remember what I talk about in the school where I have you hold the mirror under your nose and look down. Check your nose. If you need to trim the nose hairs, trim any type of little things like that out of the way. In your dressing area, you need your comb and your brushes, mustache wax or mustache glue if you need to use it, the rouge, and any other makeup as we mentioned. I also recommend if you have things you're going to put in your pocket, take with you for the party or event or wherever you're going to go, put those all in a little box. Have a box right there on top of the table or the dresser, and all that stuff is there. So you know to empty that box out, load it in your pockets before you leave. Whatever you have to have with you. And again, this is where I recommend if you have to have, if you've got COPD or something like that, you need breathing aids or you need insulin pen or an EpiPen or anything like that. All that stuff needs to be right there. Very, very important to have all that stuff right at hand. A wallet, ID card, maybe a little cash if you need to have it. All those little things have to be, you have to remember these things. I'm amazed at how often we forget some of the simplest things in the world. By the way, we've had Santas go out and forget their hat, drive 30 miles to a party and not have their hat. Now, sometimes you can get by, Santa can say, well, it was really warm tonight. I really didn't want to wear my hat, okay. But what if you show up and you don't have your coat and you're not wearing a nice fancy shirt? You're just wearing a t-shirt. That makes it a little more difficult, Some people have forgotten to take their coat. I have forgotten my belt. I've done that in the past. And I have forgotten my toy bag. So again, redundancy becomes very important sometimes in doing what we do, but you've got to double check. And of course, your cell phone and your keys. I also carry a small folding brush with a mirror in the handle. It's a very handy travel type thing. Nice to have. But again, all these items I keep on the dresser and I load them in with me. Now I also have a small bag I carry with me, and that bag is my utility bag. The bag is very handy to have, and I think I have, let me see if I can do a shared screen here. I don't know, you guys see this? This is my utility bag, okay? And you can see the bag, and by the way, someone just sent me another utility bag, but this is also in my book. If you've taken my course and you've got the book, this photo's in the book. But I've got, I don't know if my mouse is working here. You can see my mouse or not. But I have gloves. I carry $1 million bills. I have trading cards for the children. I'm going, I'll tell you what, I'll go clockwise. The bag, I have wet ones, which are, wet wipes. But now I also carry Lysol sanitized wipes, or Purex sanitized wipes, which are alcohol-based and are great for wiping down surfaces. Example, if you went into a McDonald's or you went into a public bathroom and you weren't sure, it's great to wipe down certain surfaces and stuff. You can see how old this photo is because look at the phone. I now have the iPhone, but this was my old phone. I have tissues for blowing my nose. In fact, I have tissues with Santa's face on them. Isn't that nice? I have a train whistle. That is for when I read the book Polar Express. I have the bell from Polar Express, the one that Santa gives the little boy. I have a little music box. I can crank the handle and it plays jingle bells. I carry business cards. I have a giant pocket watch. There's also a comb and a brush that fold up. I have reading glasses in there. Also a little bag with some coins, because I do a little bit of coin magic sometimes. A ballpoint pen for anything you have to write down, notes or things like that. Or maybe you have to give autographs. Sometimes people like to have Santa's autographs, so that is there. There is a tube here with extra mustache glue. I actually found a small tube that had hand lotion in it, and I emptied it out and was able to transfer some of the got-to-be glue, styling glue in there. So I always have a little extra mustache glue just in case something happens and I need to fix and glue up my beard. I have some mints in there, little extra mints for my breath, and trading cards for the kids. So that's good. By the way, the $1 million bills, those are a fun thing. I don't give those out to everyone because they're not inexpensive. But once in a while, you'll get a lady who says, "Gosh, I'd love to win the lottery," and Santa pulls out $1 million bill and says, "Oh, here you go."
Talking of doing my Santa Tim thing here.
I'm sorry. Someone's asking a question. Oh, I'm hearing somebody there. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, the $1 million bill is kind of neat, but you have to tell them that the $1 million is only good in the Mall of North Pole. So it's a little bit of fun on that. So anyway, that's the utility bag that I use. And again, you can put other things in there. You could put medicines in there, depending on the type of bag you have. One Santa I know has a bag, and it looks like a big postal carrier's bag, big canvas bag. And he's got all kinds of props in there. He's got magic tricks. He has a little puppet he can pull out, a little bunny rabbit puppet for the babies, all kinds of little things that he hides in there. And again, it's very utilitarian. So it's a complete show in a way in that bag. So he can do a lot of things. And there are a lot of Santas who do private parties and homes and stuff. And they book it for an hour, and they get there, and there's 5 children. And what do you do for an hour? I mean, storytelling and magic and all kinds of things, and lots of Q&A also with the kids. So again, kind of a neat thing to have a bag of extra things to keep you busy. One of the things I have enjoyed doing is I purchase large blocks, usually 200 or 300 of them, of these. They look like the old 3D glasses. Remember the 3D glasses, the cardboard frames? There's a company you can buy them from. They're about 80 cents a piece, and they are laser etched in plastic. So when the children look at a twinkling light, every time they see a twinkling light, they see a face of Santa. So if they're looking at a tree with 100 lights, they see 100 faces of Santa. And if they take the paper lenses and they rock the lenses back and forth, Santa's head moves back and forth. They make the same pair of glasses with angels. And when the kids flip their lenses back and forth, the angels flap their wings. They're really neat little things. And a lot of times I'll have a party where someone's paid me very nicely to come in, and there's 5 or maybe even 10 kids. And I don't tell the customer I have these. I give these out at the end as a surprise. And these people have seen these glasses at Home Depot and other locations, and they're usually $2 or $3. So it's very impressive. I've only paid 80 cents for them, but it makes it nice, and it's a surprise. And the nice thing is it gives the kids something to do as you're trying to get away. They're busy looking at everything and looking for the face of Santa or the angel flying its wings. And it's a great time for exit stage left. So again, lots of little things that you can put in there. Now, once you've got that bag, that's great for a party. But when you get done with the party, you may have to go out to the vehicle and you may have to stock up. So the nice thing is having a box with extra supplies in your vehicle is great to have. Again, that's where I also keep extra snacks so that maybe while I'm driving from one party to another, I can have a little nosh. I never turn down food that is offered to me from my guests, but often I don't eat it. It doesn't sit with me well sometimes. Plus, if it's a big banquet or a party, a lot of times the food has been sitting for quite a while, and it's not safe to enjoy it. Cookies are okay, but a Mexican dinner when the buffet line had been closed down for an hour and they put it in a styrofoam container and give it to you, it may not be the best thing to eat. And but I have found that it's a great gift for that person at the end of the freeway ramp when you come down and they're asking for a donation or something like that, and you hand them a Christmas dinner or something. It makes it quite nice. So anyway, but in your vehicle, extra food, snacks, extra gloves, extra supplies, anything you used up at the party, you can restock your bag before you go into the next party. If you are doing a big event, you're going to be sitting for 5 or 6 hours, maybe you take the whole box in with you and have it back behind your set so that you've got everything you need when you need it. Don't have to go out to your vehicle. And again, you've covered yourself. It's kind of like Batman, he needs a few extra weapons and tools. He's got his utility belt. Well, we don't have that utility belt, so we've got to have the utility bag or the utility box to help us get through the day. So again, the utility bag, handouts or giveaways, extra gloves, mints, a lip balm is very important. Keeping your lips from drying out, so chapstick of some sort. Storybook and props. An item that some Santas will put in their bag is a shoe shine pad. Nowadays, sometimes that little wax block, it's got beeswax or paraffin, and it just helps you buff your shoes up. And the kids climb all over your boots and stuff. So sometimes it's nice to give it a little buff and make it shine. So having that there. I also have spot remover in there. And again, I use the alcohol-based spray in the little 2-ounce bottle. And those are great to have for sanitizing your gloves and everything else. In the big box, of course, extra supplies. Like I said, I in my van, I actually, or my Hummer, I'll have a whole case of water. And if it's going to be warm, I a lot of times will make sure there's a little ice there to keep everything cooled down a bit. I don't want frozen or super ice cold water, but I like cool water. So I try to have all that there. And sometimes what I'll use is a clear plastic box to put everything in so I can kind of peek around the side and see what's inside and find all the things that I need. So it makes it kind of neat to have. Let's see, also, sometimes I'll have extra storybooks and things like that. So if I get bored about reading the same story at every party, maybe I'll switch books and read a different story. Yeah. Yes, sometimes Santa does get bored, you know. How many of you only read one story? Raise your hand. Okay, we got, well, I only see a few people there. So most of you read more than one story. That's good. So anyway, any questions on again, you can unmute yourself if you want, and any questions about supplies and things like that? My goodness, everybody is so quiet. Remember, you have to, let me see what I can do here. Is there a way for me to take and unmute you guys all? I don't know if I can do that or not. There's me, you know, I can only mute, it looks like I can only mute all of you. I can't unmute you.
Okay, go ahead.
I got one.
Okay,
Where do you put those,
somebody, go ahead.
3D glasses at?
The 3D glasses?
Yes.
Where do you get them?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And so I'm trying to think of where I've got the glasses right now. All of my glasses are in my attic.
Paper optics.
Huh?
American Paper Optics.
Yes, that is. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you.
I
Thomas
use them all the
Sharon.
time.
American
Do it.
Paper
Thomas.
Optics.
Lowe's got them last year.
I
And
buy them by the hundreds.
you bought about 100 of them?
I buy 100 at a time.
Okay. So again, and they make some great ones. By the way, they are now making the full face shields that come down, clear plastic with the Christmas borders at the top of them and things like that. So they, I'm waiting for some designs on that. I suggested to them that it'd be nice to have a shield that could be combined with the existing Santa hat, because we all have our own Santa hats. We don't want to have something over the Santa hat, but again, they're looking at some ideas on that for those Santas who might be able to get by wearing the clear plastic shield, as versus having to wear a mask. You know, so I'm hoping to have some information next week on that. It is crazy talking with so many people about this, and I'll talk about it next week, but all the different rules and regulations and laws regarding social distancing and what some states are, you know, locations, where you can't do it. Right now in New York City, none of the photo studios are allowed to do any photography or family photography or anything like that with children. Can't do baby pictures or anything. It's because it's just one of the little areas where they put their foot down and said no social. Makes it very difficult, you know. And it's one thing when you got a wedding and you know you have to postpone things and you can't do the wedding, but you get that. Okay, somebody just did a share and is not supposed to be doing that. That's shared their whole backdrop with us. Okay, any other questions? Gee, I covered everything. I'm pretty good at that. Gosh, let me double check my list, make sure I didn't forget anything here.
Where's the best place to get gloves?
Huh?
Where's the best place to get gloves?
Two locations I have found where I can get gloves, American Band, and the other one is Band Shop. Now, both of them supply gloves to marching bands. You can also find sometimes if you have a uniform supply house nearby that supplies police uniforms and such, sometimes they'll have some gloves there. It's getting harder and harder to find good quality gloves. I like the nylon gloves of a decent not super heavy or super thick, but not so thin that they're, almost transparent. But the thing is, I like the nylon ones because they wash better. The soil, dirt, and from the kids or whatever you're touching seems to come out of them quite well. I generally use, a pre-treatment before I wash them. And with the nylon ones, you can't bleach them. So the pre-treatment works pretty good. And I have a pre-treatment I use called Soil Love, which is ammonia-based. And it does a very good job of getting rid of a lot of soil and even grass stains and blood and things like that. Takes it out completely. So it's very, very good for keeping gloves clean. Any other suggestions on gloves? Anybody else have a glove resource?
I do have a question.
Oh.
I heard that there's one of the Santas over in Boston. He said that he gets gloves that have some kind of grip on the fingertips so he can turn pages on a book. Have you heard of those?
Yes, they are both available from Band Shop and American Band. They're white gloves, and what they have is I think the material is called jacquard. When you see a piece of material like it's blue and has thousands of little white polka dots all over it, well, they do the same thing on white material. It's white dots on white material, but the dots are actually little rubber dots. And these are also used for waiters in restaurants, so they can hold that tray up above and the tray won't slide off their hand. The musicians use them to keep their band instruments as they're marching down a parade route, particularly if it's a cold night or if it is a night when you have moisture in the air. You want to have a good grip on everything. So again, but they have you can look for the gloves, and there are Sure Grip. I think it's called Sure Grip surface on them. By the way, they also sell gloves with no fingers. And the opera gloves and colored gloves and things like that. But good stuff. By the way, Band Shop also has the nylon ripstop garment bags in red. Okay, and they make two sizes. They make one which is a long size. It actually has a boot pocket or shoe pocket on the end. Isn't always big enough for a pair of boots, but it's good for the robes, your long robes and stuff. Their shorter jacket or a uniform is great because it's got a wider shoulder on it, so it's great for the big coats and jackets for a Santa suit. And they're nylon, and they're great. They even have little windows in them where you can put your business card like that. So if you'd like a good nylon bag, they're not good for storing for the winter or for year round, because in that case, you want something usually that breathes a little so you can make sure that the item airs out, keep the moths out and stuff. But again, Band Shop has those also. So.
Thank you.
I posted Band Shop's website up there. So
Thank you, George.
There you go. No problem.
Okay, so if you go to the chat room, we got the chat notes. George Campbell has put the Band Shop website there for you. Okay.
It's spelled a little different.
Now, someone is saying the dotted gloves are dirt magnets. Yes, they're designed to grip things, but they are also great because if you get that little girl with that satin dress and you're wearing velvet, that satin dress is like grease. They want to slide away. It's great to have a good grip on the kids. So it is nice. Okay. If you come up with any other questions or things like that as we move along here on this stuff with regards to checklists and things like that, remember, like I said, if you have a copy of my book, in the appendix, I have a checklist. And checklists are only as good as we make them. And so mine is just a sample. You add to it what you need to have. Like I said, I now have to have hearing aid batteries. I always carry them with me. I actually usually am redundant. I have a little card with a few batteries I keep in my wallet. I've got a little card stuck in the center console of my Hummer. Wherever I go, I have extra batteries, so I don't have to worry about, having them go out on me. Usually they'll ask me for a couple days, but the thing is I don't want to lose out on hearing anybody. So that's the good stuff there.
One of the things I found that I use a lot from my little bag that I need are safety pins, especially large ones. Like if you pop a button or something happens, and
Well, let's cover safety items, okay? I recommend you have red duct tape. Okay, I have a small roll of red duct tape because sometimes I have to make a repair and I don't want silver showing. So I have red, okay? I also have some white duct tape in case it's on the fur. I have to do something. And then, of course, safety pins, very, very important. But again, if you have a rip in your pants, sometimes, you can pin it, but sometimes it's a lot easier just to put a hunk of duct tape on it, And then, of course, if you use duct tape, remember, you also have to have a can of Goof Off.
Goof off.
Yes, because you've got to, because you have to be able to loosen the adhesive to take the tape off so you can get the repair done. But again, it's handy to have these little things around, little safety items and stuff like that, Any other little questions? Okay. As we're talking about being prepared and everything, one other thing is that I think I talked about this a few workshops ago, and that is being prepared for emergencies. You just talked about the safety pins and the accidents that happen. And we know that babies could throw up on you and your pants can shrink and then they rip on you, Why does the Santa suit shrink? I don't know. Sometimes it's not just shrinking though. Particularly if you have a Santa suit that is like 5 or 10 years old, you got to watch out because some of those older materials do not handle the stress as well as they did when they were new material. So you got to be very careful on that. Anyway, but being prepared for emergencies, your vehicle, okay, having your vehicle thing. And then I took a Dale Carnegie course years and years ago when I was an executive with the March of Dimes, and we were doing all kinds of things. And one of the sessions, one of the things that we discussed was negative brainstorming.
You want to do something else?
I'm sorry, what?
I have some bread and peanut butter. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Anyway, negative brainstorming. And negative brainstorming is one of those things that is very handy. You think of the worst things could happen. So as you're driving to an event, think of what would happen if your vehicle broke down. Okay. I know a lot of us know we can call Uber or call, maybe you have a friend that could call someone to help you out. What happens if it's Christmas Eve? And you can't get a hold of anyone. What do you do? And your vehicle breaks down. What are your options? And I think I mentioned this. If you wanted a rental car on Christmas Eve, where would you find it?
Okay.
An airport. Any airport in the area would have, a place to go. How many of you, when you're traveling around, visiting families and stuff like that, all of a sudden nature tells you that you have to make a stop and you don't really want to go into that gas station? Where do you find a clean restroom?
Hotels.
That's it. The answer is hotels. Yes, there are McDonald's and other restaurants, but they're only a step above sometimes a gas station. So hotels are always pretty fastidious of what they offer and what they have. And now today, with the COVID-19, all of the hotels are extremely, conscious of having everything cleaned and sanitized. Excuse me. In fact, some of them have actually partnered with major chemical companies, with Lysol or with Clorox or things like that. I think one of the big companies that does restorations, they run some commercials once in a while. They get those big green trucks. They're now doing, location sanitation work or cleaning work.
Surf Pro.
ServPro is now doing a lot of businesses and hotels and corporation locations doing the special cleaning and stuff. So again, that's where you find that good bathroom is in the hotels and stuff like that. But think about all the things you have to do. Have it in your game plan that, you know, you've got a couple phone numbers of people you can call that might be able to help you out. Think about where you could get that rental car at the last minute, you know. And of course, that's also why you need to have those contracts and contact numbers, because you probably have to call the client and make a little call and ask them if, you know, that you might be a little bit late or something like that. By the way, I've had this happen. I've had it happen on Christmas Eve. You know, this is my 51st year, so just about everything that could have happened has happened. But you know, again, it makes it a lot easier. I didn't get to go and do all the things I wanted to do during these webinars. I may do one more if I decide to squeeze one in on the 15th, and that will be grooming and appearance and do's and don'ts and things like that. But these are all things I teach in my school. So again, and a lot of you have already, no matter whose school or workshop you've gone to, you've gotten the handy hints of do's and don'ts and stuff like that. Probably created your own little list of do's and don'ts. And if you've been in any of the chat rooms, it's so much fun to listen to the do's and don'ts that everybody else has for their things there. So any questions out there?
Yeah, right here.
Yes, go ahead.
What do you recommend about personal security? You know, sometimes you run into a group of, you know, wise guy teenagers, or given the state of everything's going on in this country right now, what about keeping Santa himself safe from, you know, harassers and what's so?
One of the things I recommend in my schools, particularly the contracts, and you send it out to a client and you're going to a okay, so in other words, if you are going to somebody's home, you don't even get out of your car until a family member comes out to meet you. If you are going to a corporate building or going to a community facility and they've got you parking in the public parking lot, I want someone from the event to meet me and escort me. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. One, very logically, is what Thomas was just asking about, is you get these oddball people, and if they've had a few drinks, you know, I didn't get the bike I wanted last year, Santa, and they want to you know, take your clock out, you know. But sometimes you'll go to an event and people think that you're supposed to stop for them and pose for pictures right now.
Yep.
And donate and give your time to them, even though there's 200 kids in line up at the city hall. But the people out in the parking lot want you to stop right now. So that's why it's good to have that escort, because that escort can be kind of like the good cop, bad cop. They're the one that tells the people, "Go, come on with us. We're going to go up to City Hall and you can get in line and get a picture with everybody else." But you let the other people guide you and protect you. And if you think it's going to be a major event where there is going to be a problem, you don't just ask for a host to come and get you. You tell them you want security to come and get you.
Yep.
You use that term, security. Now, if it is a city facility, security usually means you're going to get, you know, police or firemen or somebody in uniform, you know, and you may want to even say that I would like uniform security to escort me, you know, particularly if it is going to be a big crowd. You know, I do a lot of major events in New York and in Los Angeles, and I have to, you know, ask for that type of help. And sometimes even the people that I'm working with think nothing that they could have a 22-year-old girl escort me from the secure building of the green room out across Hollywood Boulevard, past all the public to my float without any security. And I won't leave the building because you don't know who's on that sidewalk outside. And there are people wandering up and down and up and down and up and down. It's the same thing in New York City. A lot of times I'll have parties at events or locations where I have to park a few blocks from the building that I want to visit because there is no parking there. You know, and for any of you who have ever been to any major cities, usually there's lots of parking available, but you have to park a block or two away and walk to the venue. When you kind of look like this, even if you're not in a red suit, everybody wants you to stop and pose for pictures. I'll even camouflage when I go into the city for certain major events. I wear a hoodie. I actually have maybe a Kangol hat or a baseball cap on, and I take a scarf, and that scarf goes all the way up. Just like the bandanas everybody's wearing now, social
Now, yeah.
right? We just put our face mask on, but I have a big one. It covers everything, and I'll even pull my hoodie. I'll even pull it out and zip it up and pull it back in, so my beard is all inside the hoodie. So they can't see. They don't see any mustache. They don't see anything. They don't know it's Santa, you know. And I've gotten away from using a big red suitcase, you know, just in case.
I know when I was out at the mall security came and asked me and Clarion if we needed assistance to get to our truck. And to just let them know when I was leaving.
Well, I recommend that security, and not just when you arrive, definitely when you end.
Yeah.
Because the crowd at the beginning of an event is completely different than the crowd at the end of the event.
That's true.
Example, the Santas that work the malls and stuff, you come in the morning, it's just mommies and babies and families and stuff. But when you're leaving at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, you got all the teenagers. And I have that philosophy that one child can be creative, two kids get very creative. You put three kids together and one of them turns into Eddie Haskell.
Yes.
Or Beetlejuice. You know,
Yes.
in other words, they get into mischief, they challenge each other, and they do. It's like all these riots that are going on. Some of these riots wouldn't happen, but they egg each other on. They, you know, you get somebody trying to do one-upsman on somebody else, and all of a sudden it gets out of control.
That's cool.
You and him fight. So true.
So it is time to go, guys. It's 9 o'clock.
Great
I
session.
wish we could have been on Facebook tonight, but if you see anybody or hear of anybody who said they couldn't see it on Facebook, I will try to get all of this recorded meeting onto YouTube as quickly as possible. It will be on there tomorrow, and they can pick up this information. Remember that next week we're going to talk about the different poses and types of photography work, what we can do to help people get the pictures they want, because there's a lot of people wanting to know what are they going to do, whether it's a mall photo, whether it's a private company party event. And again, when you have a few of these ideas of things that you can do, it may help you convince a client that it's safe for you to come and do their party. Now, again, this is only if you are comfortable. You know, if you're not comfortable, then I recommend let's just stay at home and talk to Santa or something like that. I think that's the safest thing for all of us. And of course, on the 8th, we will have Megan Price, and she'll be here for Gig Salon. So all of you, good evening. Take care of yourselves and have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thanks, Tim.
Good evening.
You, George.
Good night, George.
Good night.
George.
All right.
Thanks, Tim.
Everybody.
Good night,
Bye, John
Good
Boy.
night.
Good night,
Good
John
night,
Boy.
everybody.
Good night, John Boy.